Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
Hello, everyone. I'm Geoff Blanchard.
And I'm Jeffrey K. Holbrook, and this is the weekly catch-up.
And we're back. So we had a week off, last week, didn't we?
Well, almost. I ended up kind of almost surprising you on Tech Down Over, actually.
Tech Down Over, yes, but we missed this show, and I'll tell why I missed it, because I was getting Hudson, and I wasn't too sure what time, and then because I knew his mum had come right in the time where I was doing the filming, and that did happen there. So I've got a bit of an itchy throat, so if the sound goes quiet, I'm just going to mute it and have a bit of a cough, you see. So
okay.
Just went on the, started recording.
Okay. There you go. No problem at all. No, one of the things that we're really happy about is when the tornado, a tornado actually touched down in downtown Sarasota, where my mom's house is, they said, but whenever the hurricane came through. But as it turns out, even though there was some damage in the neighborhood, where my brother, his house, he was a few miles inland and my mother went to stay with him while this was going on. Hurricane Irma came through, but they had very little. They didn't even lose their power over there. But then at my mom's house, the power is still off, but there was some damage in the neighborhood, but it just looked like my mother's house had been sitting there through a normal summer's day. There was no damage of any kind, even debris or anything. Things that had tied down, things like that, stayed down, and everything was great.
Yeah, because you just can't, when you hear something as bad as that, but you can't believe that it doesn't affect everybody. You would think there couldn't be anybody that wouldn't be touched by it, that it wouldn't be wrecked. But as you said, it picks on, it just carves that road, can destroy whole town, but just leave things on either side of it, can't it? So,
well, it was really weird. There's a near neighbor that was building a new house on a property, and there was a big tree that he had applied to the city to have the permission to take down. He was denied permission to take down this tree, and that tree fell on his house.
Oh, so has he got any claims against it?
I'm sure he will, but what will probably happen is his insurance company, he's a contractor, builds houses, so his insurance company will probably, this is just my speculation, his insurance company will probably pay the claim and then come after the city, and say, he told you it was dangerous, you didn't believe him, and now it fell on his house. And so, they'll probably come after them because, insurance companies are set up to make money, they make money by getting all the premiums from people. Looks like I kind of froze up there for a second. They make money by getting.
A little bit.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of like, but they get premiums from people, and that's how they make money. But then they also, when they have to pay a claim, they have lawyers on staff, and their job is to figure out how to extract the money they paid for the claim out of whoever was responsible for the loss. And so they make money in both different directions. So that's just the way that goes.
Well, I know it's probably the same there as it is here. Years gone by when the councils used to be run by the councils, and the more that they did, the longer the more that they got paid, the council workers.
Oh. And
then modernisation came in, and then they said, oh, no, we've got to have contractors. So then they ended up only doing what they had to do, whereas in the early days, they'd do it. If you said, oh, there's a tree, then to do it down, there'd be 50 people there taking the tree down, or the footpath's a bit crooked, they would smash the footpath and redo it. And then they all got efficient, and they said, no, not doing that. It's going to cost money.
Yeah.
And like I've had the footpath where there's a tree that's uprooted the concrete footpath, about 3 times. I've gone for about 4 years and say, you need to take that out, replace it, and get rid of the tree. And all they've just done is just put a bit of asphalt on it, built this up so the footpath's like this, about that foot, but they've built up like a ramp up it. And I said, yeah, that's fine. But on the other side, where people walk up, there's about a 6-inch gap. Looks like there's been an earthquake, which the land's lifted up. But I thought that's the same sort of thing. The moment you said, well, somebody's going to trip and hurt themselves. If they do, then I've asked them, said, you need to remove, because the whole point where I've got this problem, I had a tree there years ago, and the council picked it up and removed it, did the footpath, but then they got more efficient and now they won't do it. I said, well, the tree you replace the other one with is caused far more problems than the original one did in the first place. The other one just did a little bit, but the one that they replaced it with has done far more damage than the other one. But it's just bureaucracy. Sometimes you try to do the right things and say, oh, no, you can't do that until there's a problem with it. And then they'll say, well, why didn't you ask somebody to do something about it?
Well, that's the way they do it. Things, when in retrospect, do not make much sense, but it seems to make perfect sense in a bureaucracy. But everybody else on the outside looking in are like, well, I don't know about that. But one of the things that just kind of got me to thinking, I know this show and Tech Down Over and a lot about the Relatecast network is all set up about tech. And, it's all about different aspects of technology and things like that are discussed from time to time. But it got me to thinking, so many thousands of people are without power and everything. So what do you do when technology fails? One of the things that I'm surprised no one has thought of, they're always talking about how, they know there are terrorists lurking, in the shadows waiting to come out, and blow something up or do whatever. Why hasn't it occurred to anyone if they were here waiting? Like in World War II, there were, whenever they were getting ready to do the Normandy invasion over in France, there were all of these people waiting for a certain message on the radio. And all of a sudden, they were the underground, resistance movement in France, and they blew up bridges, rail lines, and all kinds of stuff whenever they got the message, and they all went out and did all this stuff. And if you could do that in the 1940s, why, whenever a huge hurricane comes through into Texas, and just a little bit later, here comes one through, Florida, there might even be another one behind it that was floating around out there that might, come out somewhere else. Why don't they have, if they were here, why don't they have this huge group of terrorists in these various different places with all the damage there? You could take down the entire electrical grid, electrical grid for the whole country with a few well-placed terrorist attacks in small scale over a large area. You could take the whole grid because they say it's kind of like dominoes anyway. And it just seems like to me that this would have been, if they were here, this would have been the perfect opportunity to completely take down the grid and for an extended period of time, because what's happening in Florida, all the surrounding states are going to send all their people down to Florida, and that's how they're going to get all that stuff back up and running again. But what if their own stuff went down? Then they couldn't send anybody. And so there could be an extended period of time when technology completely fails. No internet, no electricity, nothing. So what would people do in the absence of technology? Now, most people these days will get generators to try to keep everything running as best they can. But gasoline only lasts so far. Those generators are very, very expensive to run if you run them for, any length of time. And, what are you going to do? What would you do without the technology that you have today?
And most of the things that you said, even if you've got electricity, if there's nothing, you're not receiving anything, there's no internet to get, no phone, so you'd have your lights, but still everybody's dependent on the stuff that's being created outside of your house. Like years ago, yes, you would get a generator maybe, so the lights were on, you could do this and listen to some music and that, but people don't do that these days, do they? It'd be totally devastating for most people if all the technology was gone.
Well, I mean, I'm old-fashioned in the way that I think of things, but one of the things that I like are real books.
That's what
I mean, so you have, yes, you have something to do. You have something to read. Your refrigerator, now you're going to lose whatever food's in that, so you better eat that quickly, your freezer. But having some canned food around, some things that would actually keep, over the longer term, having a wood stove to cook something on, or you might have to build a fire outside. Local ordinances may not like that. If you build a fire in your backyard and you live in town, they may not like that. And so one of the reasons we live where we do is because of I like to be closer. Again, I'm not, you see these people who are preppers and are waiting for everything to hit the fan and all that. I'm not that far into it, and I love my technology, but whenever it comes down to it, I really like the concept and the possibility of being able to ramp up rather quickly to actually living without the technology, not trying to replace it, but just living without it. For instance, I know how to build a water distillery, and I've got the materials around here to do it with, just a sun-driven water distillery. I have an extra wood stove down in the basement that I could actually set outside, put a little pipe on it, and cook outside if it was too hot to actually cook on the wood stove inside. Again, it's not this big, huge prepping thing because you saw the inside of my house. I'm not a prepper, but then I collect books like this.
Yeah.
Okay. See this one here. See, it was 50 cents at a recent thing. Look what it says down there. It says hog dressing, log cabin building, mountain crafts and foods, planting by the sign, snake lore, hunting tales, faith healing, moonshine, and other affairs of plain living.
So anyway, that was through the apocalypse.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. See, I mean, this is actual, old time people who were interviewed and cooking over fires and doing stuff like that. There were university students who actually went out, and there was a project. I think there's about 7 editions of this book, and they went out and talked to the old folks up in the mountains about, okay, how do you build a log cabin? How do you cut corners and put the logs together? How do you, kill and clean an animal? What plants can you eat out of the woods? All kinds of stuff like that. So if everything goes down, you have no more internet. You have no more, because everybody says, oh, I'll just go to the internet and figure out what kind of plants you can eat out in the woods.
Yeah, you've got to, if you haven't got that reference, what do you do? It's like the navigation.
Mm-hmm. And so I actually collect books that have the old skills in them as much as I can in order to have that available if the community area needed something like that for an extended, power outage problem for a long period of time. I just enjoy collecting the books on the old ways, and again, I'm not cooking over an open fire today, but we do it for recreation sometimes, but it's not something that's but I would like to have the opportunity and the ability to have the knowledge that I would need for just such a scenario if there was an extended period of time whenever there was no power or water or whatever. Basic survival skills until those things were to come up. It might be months. You never know what might happen.
It's a bit like we were saying the other week with computers. Years ago, we all used to, like I used to every year reformat my hard drive and redo it, because if you didn't do that, it was going to stuff up eventually anyway. But now the computers are so good, people have gone through nearly their whole lives without having a hard disk crash or it being having to reformat it and redo it. Everything seems to work. Whereas back in the day, you thought, it's broken, I'll reformat it and reload everything. But if you talk to most people like that, they say, what? What do you mean format it? Everything will be gone. You just can't handle it. It's a bit like you were saying for yours. Well, here they're talking about this summer that we're going to have some power shortages because, the government in their wisdom and with all being green and all that want to stop all these evil coal-fired power plants messing up the thing. It's all well and good, but when they close them down, there's no other alternative. They haven't got anything else to replace. So, well, oh no, there's not going to be any problems. Not going to be any problems whatsoever. Never going to be. No, we've got enough power, no problems. So what did they install last week into the Parliament House in Victoria? A brand new backup generator that would keep them going for a week without power. So that's how confident you are that and that's so you say, yeah, you're saying that if you do that, what are you saying to the public? But this is what I'm thinking of as well. So I said, yeah, power, that's fine. But what do I do? I'm so used to in the hot weather having the air conditioner on and being able to live. So I'm getting a fly net, a mosquito bed net, and a big double bed so I can sleep outside under the awnings outside, because I never have done before. But when it gets too hot, no matter how many windows you've got open, it's still hot when it's hot, because there's usually no breeze. And if it is a breeze here, in the summer, it's just hot. The breeze is hotter than it would be if you keep the doors shut. But that's what I'm thinking of, the same sort of thing. Well, what do you do? There's no power. But I want to be able to sleep. That's my main thing. I don't want to be stuck inside where it's too hot. But I thought I'll go out under the awnings, but have a mosquito net, because I'll be bitten to death if you don't. But do that and get some books out, and then you can read. And like you said, do that, because I still can't. I've tried Kindle, but to me, I just can't get an enjoyment out of any book that I'm spending so much time looking at these devices all the time. To sit back and relax and read, I don't find it relaxing. A lot of people do, but I still find it so much more relaxing holding a book. And I just don't know. It's just easy because it's paper. It's not glaring back at you, no matter how. Oh no, it's so easy. It's still something glaring back at you to me. A Kindle device, but I still like a book. And like, how easy, you just put a little bit of paper in it and it's marked it and you know where it is. You don't have to, with electronic book, you can do that, but I said it's just not the same. And I love having a book. So, how much have I got? Oh, yeah, I'm halfway through.
Well, when you don't, it's a quick glance.
Just a quick glance, and you give, I don't know whether it doesn't make any difference, but I like to think, gee, I'm getting on, but gee, I've read a lot today. Whereas you don't, if you say, I don't know, what have I read? But you just like to see how much you've read, so you know how you are progressing with it. But I don't think books they go on and on about books dying. I think it'll be like vinyl records. I don't know about there, but here they're starting to make a comeback. All the record stores have got them all again, all the popular ones and all the old ones. They're selling them quite a lot now. It's become this thing that some of them, I've got this record, and they're selling record players again to go onto amplifiers. And I thought, isn't that strange that it's just the sound you get out of them? No, not as good as a CD, but it's different. And like I said, it's not better or that, and it's just so different. And people just like the same as reading. Yeah, it's just something about just having an old-fashioned book and doing that. And it just, for me, it seems to have, they've made a bigger effort to write a book than, even though they've written the same one on Kindle, but it just seems to me it's a bit more of an effort.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay, and to get a book printed, okay, now that's an issue I have with Kindle as well. There's a lot of, shall we say, non-scintillating drivel in the Kindle world, because yes, there are books, but if a book makes it all the way through traditional publishing, not saying you shouldn't e-publish, but if a book makes it all the way through traditional publishing, editing process, all that stuff, it's going to be a good book. Okay, now it may not be your genre or what you really like, but there is so much, I don't even know how to say it, just garbage, or as you would say, rubbish, on Kindle. Misspelled words, just bad writing there, and you have to wade through all of that to find a real book. There was a set of books that I read a few years ago. This lady had written several. Her name was Anne McCaffrey, and it was a science fiction series, The Dragon Riders of Pern. And I loved those books, and they were just amazing. Anyway, I said, oh, look at this. It's got, the first 3 books in it. great, and it was a good deal, and I went ahead and bought it. And it was just destroyed. I mean, because, I had read the books enough and I knew enough about them. There was this one character, and this is on one Kindle page, not a regular book page. One Kindle page that the same character's name was spelled 3 different ways.
On the same page.
Yes, it was horrible. I couldn't believe it. I mean, just the misspellings and the words that were switched around and just all kinds of stuff. And the original books were nothing like that. I got on there and just left a scathing review. Ms. McCaffrey did not deserve this done to her book, and I mean, it was just awful. The way it was done. So even classic books, normal books that are, again, you read from childhood or something, can be messed up in the Kindle format if people are just trying to make a quick buck out of it. I did actually read a Kindle book, and then this was actually on my phone. The phone's got a big enough screen, but just past week I read one. There was a series of books, and I knew about 3 of them. I did not know that there were like 33 books, I think, in this series, but they were called The Happy Hollisters, and they're made for young kids. And we had 3 of them. And the original first book was one of them that we had, and it came free on Kindle. And so I've got, of the collection, I know I've got at least 20 of the original books that I started collecting because it's just such a memory for me when I was a little kid. Well, the original one came out on Kindle. And so I went and downloaded it. Hey, it's free. Let's read this book. They're normally about $5 a piece. And I read that just over a couple, 3 days at work on break and lunch or something. Because like you said, it's a children's book for 7 to 12 or 13-year-olds. And it was exactly as it was when I was a kid. It actually had the little hand-drawn illustrations in it. And it was exactly the way it was. And it was so refreshing and cool to find a Kindle book that was just exactly like the original from back in the 50s. And I just loved it. The Happy Hollisters, you can actually find them at these things. But the kids are very polite. It's old 50s, lifestyle to where, the kids are saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And, all of the normal politeness, and the bad guys, are even the villains, it's mystery. They're solving mysteries. And even the bad guys are actually, not horrible people, they're just trying to steal something or something like that, but it's just a way to step back in time again. But it was really, really well done. And, I'll put the link to, the Happy Hollister site on there, but, they're bringing all these books back and publishing them even in, regular print, one at a time over the last couple of years. They've been working on that, and they're bringing them back. But if anybody wants some good, clean reading for young children, this is a very, very good series, and it kind of lets you see the way things were back in the good old days when people were honest, and people had manners and people were honest. That's all I can say.
I was just looking when you were showing that other book. It made me remind me of one of the old films that I used to watch was Mare and Power Kettle. I used to watch that. I used to love Mare Kettle. And I thought I'm going to have to see if you can get them. It'd be bad to be able to watch them again, but I've forgotten all about them. But they were good, wholesome, funny things, weren't they?
Well,
they just used
the funniest thing I remember about that was there was one, and it said, they talked real slow, and they had a radio show too. And on the radio show, it was like, and I'll speed this up a little bit. It was like, "Hey, Paul, what?" I mean, it lasted a lot longer. It said, "You've got your foot on a hot coal." I do. Yeah. Ouch. I mean, that was actually accelerated from the way they actually did it, but it was funny.
But as I said, I've got to watch them because I remember they were just so easy, fun, easygoing films and that. And really, when you think about it, can't have cost them much to make. It's just actors running around a wooden set, just all talking and that. all had the scripts and that, but they didn't have to do any special effects. They just pretty much filmed it and cut it here and there, and then it was ready to go, wasn't it? They didn't have to do much to them then, but I'll have to watch them because, it was all those ones, Mara and Pa go to Las Vegas or something like that, or things like that. So
the fish out of water, the fish out of water stuff, yeah.
All very, very good films and that. So anyway, we were saying on Saturday about, how I got the new hard disk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, after the show, I bit the bullet on Sunday, and I'll just switch the computer on and say, now I was reading the thing on how to do it. I'm like, God, the instructions were so easy. Take it out and put a new one in. How much easier can you get?
Yeah, but
take it out, put it in. But it was just, I can't believe it's that easy. It's got to be more than, I'm going to wreck it. Have a look. No, it says just take it out. So it's like, I've got my computer on and say, okay, take it out, put a new one in. And I thought, it's like a Band-Aid, and I'll pull it off, it's going to hurt, but you just do it now. I thought, no, just take the top one out, put it in, and I put it in, and it took 10 hours to fix up, and it all went well.
Excellent.
But the thing is like, I knew that with this 8 terabyte, I don't have 1 skerrick of extra space yet.
Oh. So did it store everything from the other ones on the 8 terabyte?
What it does is, because you've got I had 5 3 terabytes, but the way it works, so it spreads all the information across all of them.
Okay.
So if one drive fails, you just replace it with one the same size or greater, and then it redistributes the thing. But if you've got all 3s and then you replace one of the 3s with 8, it's got to back up that 8 terabytes across all the others as well. Ooh. So it reserves some of that space on there to back it up, so it will make it the same. So the next 8 will increase it a bit, but it won't increase up 8.
Okay. So what happened was you basically stayed level and even with the total number of space you have available.
Yes, I did, but I knew that. But the main aim wasn't really to increase the space, was to replace the drive. So I had a new drive, and I know I will get extra space, but to make it all even, I'd have to have, the 8 terabytes in all of them. But at the moment, it says, well, you've got 8 terabytes, but I've got all these other 3 terabytes that I've got to spread it evenly. So if you had that full, how am I going to back that up? So it says when my capacity is full, I would still have, because it could be that one, the 8 terabyte that fails. So it's got to cover that. So that's where
that's true.
I didn't increase any extra, and I knew that, but I knew I had enough that it would still do that, because I still had 4.5 terabytes left on the old one, so I'm still about the same. But it's got this extra. At least I've replaced a drive, and now I've already backed up my photos on this is the iMac, the MacBook Pros one, the small one. So put back with photos on that, and I've just got the other one, the 3 terabyte that I took out that's still working. I'm just going to back up some other things on that. So
that was a Toshiba drive in the MacBook?
Yes, Toshiba drive. MacBook, yeah. In the MacBook.
That just surprised me. I figured everything would just be Apple.
No, they don't make next to nothing. They just do the machines, but the hard drives and all the other things, the memory's not theirs. It's always usually somebody else's and that. So like the screens, I think with all the screens, with all the trouble they have with Samsung, I think they're all come from Samsung anyway. All the screens on Macs and that. So
I guess that's why
they hate each other.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they might hate each other's guts, but if one does well, they sell them the other one. So they all make money out of each other. So I could never understand that, why they don't. They're selling tons of that to them for selling that, but then they get annoyed. I just don't know where. They're all making lots of money anyway.
Well, the first time I noticed that everything was interconnected was there was a chip plant that burnt down somewhere like over in South Korea or someplace like that. And there was a ripple all the way across the industry, and the cost of memory went up. The cost of computers went up. Everything did for a little while. I mean, this has been a few years ago. But it was just kind of surprising until they got everything back up to capacity again, because it's just those same chips were being used in pretty much everything.
It's when I was in the selling electronics and that years ago with TVs, It was said back then that 80% of all screens were Toshiba. No matter what you got, it was a Toshiba screen that just made them. Their factories did it pretty much for everybody. It was only sort of with the advent of the LCDs that it started to wane off to a lot of separate companies doing it. Like it was, I think even with the plasmas, it was some people like Hitachi was the main ones that were doing it. Because I remember, I think even the early days in the Sony, theirs weren't their own. Theirs was Hitachi because they didn't do their own. But now everybody was doing their own. But it's well, and let's face it, if somebody does it really well, why waste your time? If somebody's doing it really well, why waste your time going somewhere else for it? But these days, they all like to do their own, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Like I say, now that everything's up and running and it's such a normal thing now, I know when podcasting first started, there were only one show of each flavor, of each genre, one show of each. And this was like in 2004, 2005. And the first time that a second tech show showed up, Dave Jackson was like, wait a minute, I've got this covered, but now there are thousands of shows of every genre. And, it's like, now everybody's doing their own thing. So they don't need to piggyback off of the other people. You just do it yourself and you actually get your manufacturing up and running. Then you can actually just get things done cheaper yourself without the shipping and the buy and then resell type of a setup.
It was like you were saying before with the Kindles. There's so much rubbish out there, and it's because technology's got to that stage where people can do it. It's a bit like in business presentations. People used to go to a lot of effort to do them because when you used to have the old plastic sheets that you had to prepare and put on there, they were damn well hard to do that. So you couldn't put a lot on there because it was so hard to do. So you was very thoughtful of what you put on. But then that's why they said, well, the only reason PowerPoint's horrible because it's so easy to use. Anybody can put one together, and they do, and they use all the horrible things, put too much on there, and they don't have to think about it. They just bung it on. Whereas, and it's said even with like e-learning, there's so many of these easy ones, but sometimes the harder packages produce better quality because the people who got to use them could use it, do it a bit better and put a bit more thought into it. Like you said with the Kindles, anybody can really get a Word document these days, press a button and convert it and publish it on a Kindle, can't they, really? Mm-hmm. And they don't have to do much, whereas they couldn't before. It was too much effort. And like you said, go through the normal book part of it. They just couldn't. It would look at hard. They'll say, no, that's rubbish. Can't be bothered doing that. Whereas now it says, oh, no, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, it's not cost us anything. Yeah, put it up.
Yeah. At the same time, one of the things, I had a teacher when I was in the 6th grade just tell me that I really needed to be a writer. And so this is something, I studied writing for years, read books on it, got Writer's Digest, got all kinds of different things just over the years and studied the craft of writing. And then whenever the ebooks started showing up, and you didn't have to fight your way through the publishing and everything like that, I'm thinking this is a good thing. When I retire, I'll have this, I'll have this outlet to where I could just go ahead and publish my books and people will hear what I have to say. And I love writing. I enjoy writing. I do some journal writing and things like that. And I have written articles for websites over, stuff like that. But now, I can retire. I was just looking at some things online, and I can actually retire 2 years from the 1st of October. Is my first retirement date possible? I don't have to, but I can.
You can do, yeah.
And the thing is, the saturation now of the Kindle market, all the ebooks and all that stuff like that, and the fact that I would say fully a third or maybe half are just, as you say, rubbish, and to find the actual real books in the middle of it. I'm wondering if it's worth writing and publishing now for me, because, here I come to retirement, I've got time and I'm writing my great novel, and will anybody ever find it? Or would it be better to actually go through the traditional process and let them do it, do the editing and get everything done and have the respectability of that, and knowing that when it hits print, it's a real book. And then, of course, they'll put out an ebook edition.
But it's the same sort of thing, like with me being in the equestrian side, just the riding. And I've got friends there, and they go do all these competitions, win the top prizes. But even the top ones in the country is not enough to sustain you. You can't make a living out of it. And I said to them, but why do you do it? And why do they go to all these competitions and that? And it's the same sort of thing there. They buy and sell horses. They train horses. They train it. But who's going to notice you? When you start winning these prizes and you do that, you've got respect out there because people know you know what you're doing. Right. So, yes, they might not have spent weeks preparing, going out for that, but going out there gets their name out there that people say, there's that person. They're selling a horse. They know what they're doing because they're doing that. They'll get a decent price for that horse. Whereas if I had the same knowledge but don't go to these competitions, well, who's he? And that's the same thing as you said with your book, that when you retire, yes, if it could be good, but it needs to be marketed. It's like when we're talking with the voiceover. Every man and his dog can do a voiceover, but with the most successful ones, not necessarily the best voices, but the best marketers, because yes, you can record, do that, but you've got to market yourself and get into people's ears so people know who you are, how reliable you are, the quality of your work. And as I said, it's usually the quality, if it's, and that doesn't matter. If you can deliver something that's quite reasonable, I'll do you. If there's somebody else who do it much better, but they're unreliable, they never get back to me, and that. It's all about that as well, isn't it?
Well, at the same time, like, Bill DeWeese, the voiceover coach guy you see on YouTube all the time, I think he says it's around 75% marketing. Because you spend all that time drumming up the business. Of course, it gets easier once people know who you are and things like that. But some people expect to start a podcast, then everybody will just show up and start listening. No. That doesn't work your way. Now, if the way the podcasting works is if you're a famous comedian, then of course you're going to have a following already. The people who are famous bloggers, they have a following already, various celebrities, whatever. So if you're famous already, you can have a good, successful podcast and make some money at it. If you're an unknown, you can either just put it out there and a few people will hear it. Half of them will be your friends and a few other people will notice it. And that's about it. But then if you really want to be noticed when you're an unknown, then what you have to do is to start a small business that involves podcasting, not as the primary product, but as the marketing arm of what your real product is, be it voiceover, be it, e-learning modules, be it some type of, online product that can be easily downloaded, something like that, photography, anything like that. And so then you go through the normal small business grind, as any small business will do, and you get known that way, the same way you would market a small business. But just having a podcast and throwing it out there, you're really not going to get anywhere, because nobody will know you're there. They won't hear you the first time.
There was someone, I did an e-learning module at work one time, and somebody says, what if other people get on there and look at it? I said, well, there's nothing fantastic on there. But I said, look at it this way. I had put this one up, and nobody'd marketed it. Nobody'd pushed it to do it. I said, it's been there a year, and not one person's accidentally come across it. So if you don't, because that's not promoting, we don't want to put it in the search field because you don't. But as I said, there's that much out there. It won't get found. As I said, it's a minuscule thing. It's a miracle for how many things are out there. If you don't have that address, you're not going to stumble across it, because if it's not, you don't put it in the search results, it's just not going to come up. But you've got to have that. But for somebody to stumble over these things, and like I said, I'll put it so they can get searched. But the way the search engines all work is how many people's clicking on it where it puts it on the search. So you've got to have an initial one. Geoff's put a video out and 50,000 people click on it. Then they get to the high search. Then another 100,000 will watch it. But Geoff puts a video out. you get 2 people watching it. So that's not going to make anything in the set. So
Well, no.
you've got to get 50 of your friends to do. You've got to really sell it to get that sort of thing out there.
Well, see, in July, I had a viral video.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
I mean, 5 million people at least have seen this video. You know, it wasn't all on my YouTube channel. I have 63,000 have seen it on my YouTube channel. But in spite of that, having a viral video, I had a big month on my podcast. A lot of people listened to it. Now it's just where it was before. Okay. Nobody stayed. They watched the video and moved on. I mean, it's like having a 1-acre pond and expecting to find a particular grain of sand in the bottom of that pond. Not only is it mixed in with all these other sand, you know, all these other different sand grains all over the whole bottom of the pond, it's covered with water. And that little thing you put out there, people that don't know you already, they're looking for specific content. The video was about, you know, burglars sleeping in my bed. Well, they noticed it. It took off. It went viral. I mean, an actual viral video. They saw that. They were happy. They didn't care to even check about anything else I had because they were moving on to the next sensational video that was put out. So, I mean, again, this isn't sour grapes. But even having a complete viral video will not get you known any better than you were before you had the video.
And that's a good thing with the internet and then people say, well, why bother? But I said, yes, you should bother because that's what it's there for. It's you know, yes, you might want 50,000 people to watch it, but the whole idea, like for something like this, if somebody's searching for something, I do that myself. You search for something, they're doing it. But it might be somebody that's not popular but they're just saying raw, and you understand what they're saying. But you need all that content. You need everybody to do it to get different opinions. Because I say, I'll listen to this guy doing it. He's not a professional. He's just in his basement doing it. He's probably got a better idea than the marketing team from the company who made it, because they won't tell you the real truth about it, whereas somebody at home just doing it. Doesn't matter how horrible it is as long as I can hear them. But I think that's where the internet comes, because we all contribute, but there's hundreds of millions of things. So maybe nobody looks at them, but when you're searching for a specific thing, it's just amazing when you type into that set, hey, somebody else has asked that question, because you know it finishes it for you, and you think, gee, I'm not the only one looking for things like that. But just like you said before, people used to have to, Dan, how do I build a fire? You'd get a book. So I better get my old scout book or something to show me how to build a fire in the outdoors without matches. What do they do now? Get on the internet. And she said, but if you haven't got that there, well, nobody's got any books anymore to read. The Kindle's dead. So I think we're all going to just start.
Well, to be honest with you, though, I enjoy watching videos like that now and then remembering how to do it. I mean, because I've watched enough of those videos to where, you know, you got the method with the little bow and, you know, the little stick thing. And then you can take a piece of steel wool and take a 9-volt battery and just touch it to it and it'll catch on fire.
And now you know that, see? So,
yeah. It's just something you actually know compared to something that you have access to. But I agree with putting the stuff out there. To me, it's more of an archival thing. You know, I'm putting out, like we're doing this show, and what we think and what's happening at this moment in time is what we're actually putting out here on the video. And I'm thinking about, you know, posterity, if I have grandchildren later or whatever, you know, different people that might have known me or might know other family members of mine could come and watch this show years later after I'm gone. And here it is on the internet. And all of a sudden, wait a minute, you know, people do genealogy searches and great-grandfather, you know, Jeffrey K. Holbrook had a podcast or had a, you know, video thing, you know, let's go see how funny that is, you know. And so, you know, it's an archival thing. And there's video stuff that I do on my phone that I'm planning on just not even putting on the internet, but just putting on, you know, media and saving it so that family members after I'm gone will actually have access to a video journal and stuff like that.
But I mean, could you imagine if Like if you could see old relatives that you had, like your father and your mother and all those things, you could go back and just watch them prattling on for hours and hours. And you think that, even that, as you said, to other people it's nothing, but to people who are interested in them people, they'll find it fascinating, because you look, even now you look for hours and hours at boring old photos, boring slides of boring pictures, but you just love it, don't you? Because it's your family that you love. And you would do the same thing with that, where we've got this thing. And like you said, we're doing it because we just want to do it. But it might be good years down the track if somebody says, oh, what? I had some. Oh, there's something that's what he used to look like. And hopefully it's still there. But that's what frightens me as well when I'm saying about my hard drive and the memory. I just can't imagine the storage capacity that Google has for things like YouTube. I just can't. I thought the amount of that, how do they keep it? Where is it? Is it in is it just, is the whole earth a giant hard drive? Because I just keep thinking that's still probably, how can it, because it's just, if I've got that much, just pure little me, I've got about.
Sitting under your desk, 15
terabytes or something, that's considered nothing compared to what's there. And I thought, I couldn't even count how much storage it would be. It's that high. Don't know how to count that high. So, it's just incredible. I just can't imagine. But like people say, it's all over the place. There's not just one big storage. It's just all over the place. But they never seem to lose anything either, do they?
No, they have to have some kind of redundancy going on. So it's not like just this video is saved on YouTube and there you go. This video has to be, just like you were concerned about backing up things and getting new drives before they fail and all that. This video they have to have some redundancy to where if the hurricane comes through and blows up that, server bank, then all of a sudden they're pulling it, say, from South Dakota. I mean, those videos are supposed to be available. So it wasn't like just suddenly a bunch of the videos went dark on YouTube. I mean, they have to have redundancy. So they're not just storing it once. They're storing it a few times in different places just to make absolutely sure that nothing gets lost.
And then they have different qualities of it, don't they? Different versions of it. That it's just mind-boggling that there's that place that's storing it, and really, it must be the advertising that must get them a fortune, because everybody that can put it up free, it doesn't cost us anything to do that. And like now, for doing this streaming on YouTube, it doesn't cost us anything to do it. It's just part of the service on there. So it's just quite amazing. As you said, we moan and groan sometimes, oh, the quality, it's a bit bad, the Skype tonight, and then you think, goodness, you couldn't even make it 30 years ago. If I'd phoned you in the USA, it was a pain. It would be a delay.
Expensive.
And it was a fortune. He said, so people never phone because, hello, how are you? Good, see you, bye. Because that was 30 seconds. That was $7.50 or something.
Well, there was a commercial up here at one point when they were first kind of coming up with, free calling. You could call anywhere you wanted to without long distance charges and things like that. And they had this operator on there, and they asked the guy what his name was, and they showed the two different sides, and it was like this older couple, and then there was this young guy, and you could see in the background his wife in a hospital bed with a new baby. And he said, I'd like to make a collect call. And of course they're listening on the other end while they're saying it. And they said, well, what's your name? And he said, we oughta baby eats a boy. Basically, we had a baby. It's a boy. Oh, never mind. And then they hung up. And so they actually had this collect call. They were trying to, because things were so expensive, they had to scam the operator into, because you can hear what they say on the other end, who it is, before they actually connect and say, okay, you can talk. And so that's what he said was, what his name was, we oughta baby, it's a boy. And it was basically, we had a baby, it's a boy. And never mind, we won't make the call. And so they got the news. Yeah, they got the news, but they were trying to scam the operator so they wouldn't have to pay for the call because it was so expensive.
I remember as a kid, you always used to, if you was round, a friend's house and you had to phone home, you always reverse the charges because it was too much to put on your friend's phone to phone your house.
It was polite. It was polite, impolite to charge people,
So he said, well, you can't do that. So when you do phone this and just do reverse charges to phone home, and you did that, then it would charge there. But nobody does that these days. I've never heard of anybody reverse. I don't know that you can do it these days, can you?
Oh, well, there's no charges to reverse, really. I mean, it's again, everything was long distance, beyond a certain range, and so you had to pay extra based on where it was at. Now I can call you or Rick or anybody else that I want to in all these different places for the same that it costs me to call my wife here locally. If I'm at work and she's at home. I mean, it really doesn't cost any more.
Well, even then, I've got a mobile phone there I can still phone England on the mobile phone, and it still charges you.
Oh, does it?
But there's one I got for my mother as well. She says, "Oh, isn't it costing a lot?" I said, "Yeah, but you've got a $500 worth of overseas calls you can make." Okay. And I said, even at the charges that they charge, you'd have to be talking 11 and a half hours solid to get up to that $500. And I said, you're lucky if you talk on it an hour a month doing that. So I said, but you'd have to do 11 hours solid to get up to that charge. So, but whereas before it was just, you just never phoned overseas because you were just so worried about there was so much per 3 minutes, and you were just devastated. And if you went past the 3 minute mark, you got charged another 3 minutes. You had to make sure you kept talking for another 2.5 minutes, or else you wasted your money. Because you think, it's filling up the petrol, just going to that last tick to get it to $10. Oh, 10.01.
Yeah, 01. Yeah.
Then you just go, now we've gone over that. Now, are we paying another $7, or do we hang up? And it used to get off the phone and say, oh, that was good. It only cost us $27, that one. And but now, as I said, you can just phone up, and like even then, you don't even worry about phones. You've got the Skype, and nearly everybody's got a laptop or an iPad, so everybody can get access to that. And even if they don't want the video, they can just do it normal voice, can't they? On Skype, they don't have to do the video.
Well, when the hurricane was going on, I mean, when it was actually coming through, my brother lived in a place where the power did not actually go off in Florida. So my mother was staying with him, and so them in Florida. My wife here, and of course I was working while this was going on, have a brother that's in Parkersburg. It's about 2 hours away. Have another brother up in Pennsylvania that is, several hours away. And then another brother that lives here close locally. And all of them were having this rolling conversation on Facebook. I mean, on this chat that was just between them, that had been set up back whenever we were talking about my dad and stuff like that, before he passed away. And there was just this big constant rolling conversation. And these people were all over the eastern United States. And so this rolling conversation was going completely for free. This went on for a few hours, people typing things in and doing stuff like that. And that's one of the things that people worried about, the net neutrality thing, to where they're trying to, there's companies that want to swoop in and make a whole bunch of money off of this and throttle all this stuff that people have had for free for a long time. And, that's what the thing, people are saying, well, you can't do that because they've had it for free all this time. Then all of a sudden you can't publish your podcast, or you can't put your video on YouTube, or you can't, and a full generation of these people are in their 30s now. They're used to this. And all of a sudden they just suddenly take it away from you. I mean, that would be, kind of like changing the Constitution, or something like that. That would be like, this is my life. What do you suddenly put us in slavery for,
But the thing is, if they did do that, all these people who are doing it because they want to monetize it, people that just won't make any money then, because even like I know when people say like they do all this advertising about piracy, video piracy and all that, since video piracy has been about, I've never bought so many discs in all my life. That because quite often you see something that you wouldn't have seen that looks quite interesting, whereas you'd never picked it up off the shelf. But I always buy my CDs if I like something, but quite often sometimes I'll look at something first, get the download off the internet, have a look. I like that, but if I like it, I'll always get the the proper production ones. So I've bought so many DVDs and CDs, and I think that's that everybody has. Remember before before piracy, nobody got their films out there. Like here, we had one picture theatre and it closed down because nobody was going to the pictures way before the internet came. But as soon as they had all these ones where people can get things off the internet, it didn't stop that. It just made there was a market there for it. Like, I think what they say, Game of Thrones is the most pirated show out there.
Probably.
But they're squilling out of still discs and everything else, aren't they? So what's going on? If everybody's watching it illegally, well, they're making money somewhere else. It's cost a fortune to make. So they must be recovering the costs, mustn't they?
I think the reason why this works is because the technology of what you can reproduce at home whenever you watch it, the kind of television you have, the quality of the actual recording, the pirated versions that they film in theaters and things like that do not live up to the technological advances in the televisions themselves. So nobody wants to watch this grainy, shaky video that somebody took in a theater. They want the real thing. So the authenticity is, and the quality that you can reproduce now, I think, is what's driving so many more sales in spite of piracy, because it's just not the same if you have this little copy of it. And another thing, we were talking about the Kindle stuff. You get something on a Kindle and it doesn't seem like a real book. It just seems like kind of frivolous or something like that. And again, I have real books, and then I have a few things that I just had to delete once it was over with because that just wasn't any good. Couldn't even finish them. But the other day, my wife and I picked up a couple of DVDs of movies that we had seen a long time ago, and we wanted to see them again. And when we put those DVDs in and sit and watch the movie, my perception of this is a real movie, as opposed to the thousands that are available in Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like all this like this. It's like, this was an event. We open, thing and put the DVD in there, and it closes up, and, ta-da, presentation. It was like being in a theater. If I'd watched the same movies, the same two movies on, even though we got them at a huge discount, the idea that we had a real movie on a real disc and we put it in and we watched it, and we when our daughter was learning to talk, whenever we would watch a movie with the lights off, on TV and the lights were off, she called it in theater. Whenever the lights were off, you're watching a movie on the TV with light, and she called, let's watch in theater. So that was like when she was learning to talk. So, so we still say that. You want to watch it in theater? We wait till it's dark outside. We turn the lights off, and, and then we watch it in theater. So, the idea that, we waited till dark and then we put the thing in and it was a real movie and we didn't have 100 other movies to choose from. This was the movie we were watching. It seemed to be more significant and more quality because of the scarcity of it. It's not like there's millions you can watch. This is the movie, and you reverently put it in there and you start it up and it's in theater and you and you enjoy it. And to me, I didn't realize until afterwards we watched those two movies. Those seem like real movies instead of just something you clicked on Netflix. It was right. I still like that. I've got something that maybe on Netflix and that, but I've still got the DVD. And I like to get that, put it in there. It just makes a big difference. A friend gave me one back and I'd forgotten I'd lent them it. And it was, I forget the actress's name, but no, it was Rex Harrison, I think it was. The Ghost of Mrs. Muir. Yes.
From about 1940s. I think it was the real early one. Or
Yeah, it was.
I forget who the actress was, but I know it was Rex Harrison.
Wasn't it Ronald Reagan's wife that was in there? Wasn't it her?
I don't think so, because I would know that was...
Jane Wyman, I thought it was.
Jane Wyman, no, but that's what I said. I know that it wasn't her, but I thought those sort of ones, I can watch that because that's so powerful a film. It's so sad, but it's really good. I just love that film. Because it's old, black and white, it seems to make it better with the ghost in that. Whereas in color, I don't think it would have done much good at all. But it just seems a bit creepy and really good. I've got to watch that again. I always like that one. So
yeah, we have certain movies that we watch regularly. One other thing I'll bring up: a very high tech way of doing a very, very simple thing
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a Rube Goldberg machine. No, but what happened was whenever we were doing Tech Down Over the other day, one of the things that I noticed in the video was that, see the picture behind me? That's a picture
Yes.
my daughter painted. It was crooked.
Yep.
And I noticed it on the video.
Oh,
I had to see it on the video before I could see that that picture was crooked. And so, it has to beam all the way to, Australia to California and then YouTube and everything like that. And then I watch it on TV and then I could see that my picture is crooked.
And that's what the first thing we say to like anybody, you always look at what's in the shot, because everybody else is going to be looking, even if you're not, they'll be saying, what's on that shirt? Okay, this I can see a message. Oh, yeah, Virginia. What's the skeleton holding in his hand? Is it a moonshine bottle? I don't know. There's some blue on there. So what's he holding? So,
but the thing is, though, with the shirts, I am changing the shirt every show. And so, I have shirts like the one on Tech Down Over has got that little, what is that, BC-8 or whatever the little round rolling robot was on the later Star Wars movie there. Yeah, it had a shirt with him on it. And then, I had one that had a Skyrim scene on it. And anyway, so I've been changing the shirt each show just for the fun of it.
Because people don't realize, because I always look and I'm looking and say, my God, they've got their dirty laundry in the background.
Right.
They've got a closet open with all their clothes. I said, can't they just shut the door or something? People are looking, because they're not looking at you, they're looking at all the surroundings. So you've got to make sure you place things in there so you can say, well, what's that beneath the skeleton? Is that a little ambulance or something?
That is actually, everything here means something. That is actually a replica of like a Tonka version of a mail truck. My dad had a collection of post office toys. Little bobblehead carriers and little trucks and little things like that. And whenever my father passed away, they gave me that little mail truck. Okay, well, there's that. There is also my grandmother's cameras sitting right down below it. You can't see it so well. It's got a bit of silver on it. The skeleton is something that, basically represents the podcasting that I've been doing for a while. I just love that skeleton with the microphone. My first podcasting microphone is sitting at his feet. Down there.
All right. What is it at his feet? Yeah, the yellow.
Yeah. It has a windscreen on. It's a Samson C01, a very, very noisy microphone and recording, but I didn't know any better. Anyway, there it was. There's my bass guitar that I bought back in the 80s that I played all that time. There's also a West Virginia Centennial license plate, which is my mother got that for me, and that was issued the year I was born in 1963.
Okay. Oh, so as you said, and your daughter's picture behind you, so everything there for a reason, you see. So, but that's exactly what you should do. So when people are looking at it, it's things you want people to look at.
Yes.
And pick difference in on that. Anyway, it looks like we're at the end of another show. So we've been going just over an hour, a bit more over an hour, I think. So thank you again, Geoff. And I'd made sure the lower third was still the old one, if you noticed.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll see you all next week. So bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at jeffblanchard.com.